as we hear these panelists today, I hope you'll actually look at that how you can adjust your state's ranking and pay attention to it. So with me on the stage, I'm going to introduce, again, I believe some of the smartest people in the nation, Reagan economist, Dr. Arthur B. Laffer, Freedom Works economist, Stephen Moore, State Budget Director and Governor Report Card co-author, Donna Arduin, and ALEC Chief Economist, we all know him as a happy economist, Jonathan Williams. Please welcome them on the stage with me today. Thank you.
Died and then her daughter died.
Yes. So, if I can get my mic on, am I on? I've got a series of questions I'm going to ask, and I hope you pay attention to the answers, because hopefully you'll find out what you're able to do to make your state better. And I'm going to start with Dr. Laffer. So, Dr. Laffer, how is the condition of the U.S. economy today, and how did we get here, and what are the greatest threats to our economy moving forward?
Okay. Let me, if I can, just to give you a quick one. We had a huge downturn with COVID, and 2020 was a really bad year. We have come back substantially as the states have undone, but we have a huge loss in production that occurred in 2021 that we will never recoup. We have also had huge stimulus spending, they call stimulus spending, and that will guarantee that our growth rates will be lower going forward. And I have not been more pessimistic about the U.S. economy in the long term or in the short term than I am today going forward. I think the policies have been wrong. There has been one policy that this administration has done that I think is wonderful. There was an executive order done by President Trump on transparency in healthcare. Pricing and quality information from all healthcare providers. Biden did not rescind that executive order. Not only did he not rescind it, he also wrote an executive order of his own, which reinforced it and put the penalties much higher. That is one of the most wonderful things, and I don't want to just make it an executive order comment. Healthcare is about 18% of the U.S. economy. My estimate is that if we had true transparency, both in price and quality, we could reduce healthcare expenditures in the U.S. from 18% of GDP to 9% and increase healthcare results by about 10%. So this is a big, big deal. This is the one place I'm really optimistic. But on the general overall economy, I think we're going to have lower growth rates and we'll never catch up the production loss of 2021.
Wow. Steve, the question for you. How have enhanced federal unemployment benefits affected state economies and job creators and workers? How have they affected states?
So first of all, thank you all for having me. Lisa, you've done it again. Lisa Nelson is such a great champion of ALEC, and this is the best. I've been to about 15 of these, Lisa. This is the best one yet. So thank you. And by the way, Utah sure knows how to put on a great show. So
thank you.
Terrific performance. And boy, I love Ron DeSantis and the lieutenant governor. But I got to tell you, nobody told me that Whitney Houston was going to be in the House. I mean, Kayla, you are amazing. You are my hero. What a rendition. I can't wait to see you in the future.
Better than Whitney Houston.
Right, you're better than Whitney Houston. So it's just so fun to be here. And by the way, isn't it great to actually be together in person for once after a year and a half of being separated? So it's just fun to reconnect with everybody. So I'm just going to say one quick kind of thing about what's happened over the last year and a half. Obviously, you know, COVID was a terrible pandemic, but we also suffered from another disease, Mr. Speaker, and that was mad cow disease. What has happened in terms of the policies that have been put in place in the last year and a half in most of the states and in the federal government, I think I agree with you out there. I think we've done almost everything wrong in terms of dealing with this crisis. And I think, you know, the shutting down of the schools and the shutting down of our businesses, I agree with Ron DeSantis. Never, 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 never again should we allow that to happen, where we shut down our freedoms and our businesses. And so what we have done with ALEC and with Laffer Associates and our Committee to Unleash Prosperity is we've done a very comprehensive study looking at which states have handled the crisis the best. And we looked at 3 or 4 key variables. Obviously, the most important variable is which states held death rates the lowest, because obviously this is a killer disease. So which states had the best record in terms of dealing with deaths? And by the way, we age adjust the data because obviously old people suffer far more than young people. And then we looked at schooling. How many days of schools were states open? Because obviously the biggest mistake we made of all was shutting down schools, which, as the governor said, was completely unnecessary. And then we looked at economic variables, like what was the unemployment rate of these states over the last 15, 16 months, and what was the rate of economic growth that these states had. So we looked at the economic variables, the education variables, and then we looked at the health variables, and we kind of combined them into an index. And I thought I'd give, we're not exactly done, we're very close to being done, but I thought I'd give you all a very quick sneak preview of which states were the top 10 in terms of the best in terms of handling COVID, and then I'll give you the bottom 10. Could I do that, Mr. Speaker? Absolutely. Now, the reason the Speaker wants me to do that is guess what state came out #1 again? Utah. I don't know what it is. Utah just got it right once again. Stop dominating all of these rankings. Think people are going to. So Utah was #1. Anybody here from Montana? Montana was #2. Congratulations, great job. #3, of course, Florida. Floridians, take a bow. #4, I don't know if there's anybody here from Nebraska. Right. Nebraska, good going, you're #4. #5, Idaho. Idaho, you did it right. #6, I doubt there's, I'll be curious if anybody here is from Vermont. Nobody here from Vermont? Vermont is the one blue state that actually did a pretty good job. They had a very low death rate. #7, South Dakota. Yeah, we have South Dakotans here. 8 was Maine. Anybody here from Maine?
Andre.
Maybe 1 or 2.
Couple of them, yeah.
#9, Arkansas. We have a contingent from Arkansas. At #10, Iowa. Yeah, we have some Iowans. Okay, so those were the top 10. Now I'm just going to quickly read the bottom 10. And if you're from one of these 10 states, I'm sorry. The worst state in the country in terms of dealing with COVID. Anybody want to take a guess?
California.
Not New York, New Jersey. New Jersey had the worst record of all. Then it was New York, the second worst. By the way, is there something common here? California had the third worst performance. By the way, one of the statistics the governor did not mention is that even though California was shut down for an entire year and Florida was open for an entire year, age-adjusted, California had a higher death rate than Florida did. That's prima facie evidence that lockdowns didn't work. Then very quickly, New Mexico, Illinois, Michigan, Maryland, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts did it all wrong. So that's kind of our analysis of what happened. A 30-second answer to your question about unemployment benefits, a total disaster. Arthur and I, remember we did that study about a year ago saying what we should have done, and I think this was a fatal error, we should have suspended the payroll tax and given the people who are working a benefit. Instead, we gave the benefit to people who are not working. There are 9.2 million job openings today. I believe that if we had done what Laffer and I and Casey Mullen and others had proposed, we would have 5 million more Americans working today. Policy matters, incentives matter. That's why Laffer is so right in supply-side economics. So with that, I have to go do a Fox interview. So great to be with you all, and you know, thanks for hosting this great thing. And Lisa, I salute you again. What an amazing performance. This is a great conference.
Yeah, tell our friends on Fox hello, will you?
On the screen.
Which one?
The map.
Take it, put it up, or?
On the screen here.
Oh, he wants to see the map.
Yeah, make sure she puts it up.
All right.
There we go. So again, Steve, have fun on Fox. Tell them all hello, if you will. So, and even in Utah, what he said about unemployment affects Utah. We have a 2.8% unemployment rate, and we can't find workers either. So there we go. Yep. So Jonathan, I've got a question for you. A good question. I may answer it for you, but it says Utah is now ranked #1 for economic outlook in rich states, poor states for 14 years in a row. Hopefully no one's not aware of that or he's heard. But what Utah policies stand out the most? First question. And then the second one is, does Florida have a shot at stealing the #1 spot? And I can answer that for you. The answer is no.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Good to see all of you. Isn't this a shot of patriotic adrenaline right here, getting ALEC freedom lovers in this room? It is so awesome to see the record attendance in the home of the #1 state of rich states, poor states, Utah. And let me ask you one question first before I give you two answers to your question is, President Adams, are you tired of winning yet at 14 years at #1?
Never. We are never tired of winning. I can speak for the entire delegation. The answer is no.
And to answer your question a little bit more seriously is, I'll give you the economist answer on one hand and on the other hand. So on one hand, here's why I think Utah has a few things to worry about, is you've got the people that were up here on stage just before us, Governor Ron DeSantis, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, you've got future Speaker of the House, Danny Perez, our friend from the ALEC Board of Directors, you've got Jason Sain, the Senior Appropriations Chairman from North Carolina, and when you're at #1, all eyes are trained on you and they're all looking to catch Utah. Now, on the other hand, you've got the issue of Utah just being really good at what they do at 14 years in a row at #1. And I'm not a bumper sticker kind of guy, but there's one bumper sticker that all of us, I think, need to get. We need to make this an ALEC bumper sticker because it's in Senate President Adams' office. It was in his predecessor, Senate President Wayne Niederhauser's office. And the bumper sticker goes like this: when the going gets tough, the tough cut spending. And when they do that right, isn't that right? When they do it right and they balance spending and taxes in Utah like they've done, that's really the recipe for 14 years at #1. And then you add in a couple of, I think, essential policies, by the way, that anyone here can learn from if you haven't done this already. The existential financial problem facing states right now, I think, is the unfunded pension liabilities in the trillions of dollars across the states. Tennessee's fixed it, Utah's fixed it, my home state of Michigan has helped fix it, and switching more to the hybrid defined contribution plans that Dan Lillingquist here in Utah did with you and your leadership, that's a big deal. And then property tax. Who here has gotten a complaint over the years from a constituent about property taxes? Probably every single legislator in this room. One of the things that Utah has done that's now an ALEC model is called truth in taxation. We've seen this huge uptick in the assessments in property, both residential and commercial across the United States. Utah has this law in the books since 1985. If you want to learn more about that, talk to us later because we're building a full educational campaign in the coming year to bring property tax reform to states near you. It's a huge issue. Utah always seems to stay ahead of the curve. In fact, so many of your states now, 31 states adopted COVID liability reform for small businesses during this last year. Utah was the leader in that, became ALEC model legislation. Fast forward, 31 of your states have done it. Utah's a real innovator.
Thank you. And again, I'll answer the question, does Florida have a shot? And I'll tell you, I don't think so. Thanks. Now to Donna, a question. Now all but a few states have wrapped up their 2021 legislative sessions. What governors, what executive branch governors stood out in 2021 as limited government and free market leaders? Which ones?
Oh, well, I will tell you, Stuart, that for the grading the governor's report card, the economic freedom report card, Utah was in the top 10.
Oh no, what's going on?
They were #1. And when we grade governors, we grade them on their policies. So their grades can change significantly from one year to the next. And they're not just their fiscal policies and their economic policies, but we call all of their freedom from government policies. So as Governor DeSantis was talking about, freedom from teaching our kids without control of the NEA, freedom from union control of governments, freedom from welfare dependency. So we grade all of those things, and it's significantly about a governor's policies. And I'm happy to say there's tough competition again this year. We have a number of governors who, despite the admonishments from Washington, D.C., are cutting taxes, including top tax rates. Arizona, Nebraska, after the voters raise them, and then you cut them again. Nebraska again this year, Oklahoma again this year, Idaho, Iowa, Montana's governor. In addition to that, we had governors cutting business taxes, like Montana's new governor, Greg Gianforte. Governor Polis significantly cut business taxes. In addition to that, 2021 has been the year of school choice. So we have a number of states like Florida and Arizona adopting significant choice, including Indiana and West Virginia, who, by the way, is trying very hard to get out of being one of the one-star states, trying to also reform or eliminate their income taxes. School choice matters. Last year, Mississippi adopted a broad school choice policy, and their educational scores, their attainment scores, were the most improved in the country. So we know these things are going to help. In addition to that, some of the things that are significant in 2021, you asked about unemployment bonuses. Our Freedom from Welfare grade is going to include those 25 states who said no to the additional unemployment bonuses. That's going to help significantly with their economies going forward. And then finally, occupational licensing and liability, some of the regulatory reforms that have been lessened as a result. So, Stuart, I'm going to say there's some tough competition to the top, and we're glad if we can help sort of ignite it.
Well, thank you. That's very, very exciting to hear. So now I've got a question for the entire group, if I could. And this is a big one. As state legislators and governors, as we seek to enhance our state's economic growth, what are some innovative policies, the ideas that are worth pursuing? What are your innovative ideas? What you'd suggest? We got a lot of legislators here that are looking for ideas. Can you share some with us?
Go ahead. Well, you know, if you don't mind, President Adams, let me tell you about another Utah success story.
I don't mind at all.
The federal funds, right? This is one of the most dangerous things I actually think coming to your states right now is the so-called free lunch. Milton Friedman, the great economist, would always warn us there is no such thing as a free lunch. It comes with dangerous strings attached, very painful things. And as the former baseball great and occasional philosopher Yogi Berra would say, this is like deja vu all over again, folks. We've seen this with the Obama dollars going to the states, the handcuffs that it put on you as people that wanted to do the right thing when it came to balancing the budget and getting spending under control. You couldn't do it because of maintenance of effort requirements and other things that came out with those dollars. Fast forward to this time, the debate in Washington, you remember that amendment that got put on the Biden stimulus that went to the states? It was, folks, if you're at the state level and if you took the money, they told you you can't cut taxes directly or indirectly. I think we're going to win in the federal court system on this one going forward. Thank God that we've got some good constitutionalist judges appointed to the federal bench over the last 4 years. But that is a big challenge ahead. And what Utah did, what they called Financial Ready Utah, has become an ALEC model policy. Idaho has adopted it. Several other states have. Is we need to roll up our sleeves, ladies and gentlemen, as legislators and working with the executive branch to say, sometimes not all the federal funds coming into your state are healthy or good or positive, and we need to really look at it with a scalpel and say, we need to say no sometimes. And that is exactly what I think states across the country are going to do with this just wash of cash out there, because some of the most dangerous things can come clothed in very pretty packages, unfortunately.
Thank you. Dr. Laffer.
Yeah, can I explain to all of you this map? I'd like you to put the map up on the screen if they would. This map is the single best measure of a state's performance. And if you look at it, this is focused. I did it for the visit of Ron DeSantis. DeSantis comes from a state called Florida that is an extraordinarily high-performing state. Everyone is moving into Florida. And so what we have here is we've taken federal adjusted gross income as reported on tax returns. They take it what state they reported in last year and what state they reported in this year. That would be a migration of adjusted gross income from the first state to the second state. We have that for all tax returns in the U.S., and what we've done is centered it on Florida, and all those states that have lost adjusted gross income net to Florida are colored green. All those states that have lost to Florida net adjusted gross income are colored green. All of those states that have gained adjusted gross income from Florida are colored red. If this doesn't say it all, you don't understand math or pictures. Tennessee rocks.
Thank you. Donna, any thoughts?
Well, I'll just tail on to what Jonathan was saying, since I was the former budget director in the group, and I appreciate you saying just say no. But getting all of these federal funds, you know, we're not suggesting anybody reject them, but you certainly need to be careful with what you do with them. So certainly giving them back, way to get the economy rolling. Certainly don't spend them on programs that are going to grow and become a permanent part of government.
Yeah, and one thing we're seeing in Utah is we see some of the stimulus be spent. We're actually seeing an increase in our tax revenue. We're concerned that's one-time revenue, and it's not going to continue. So we're really concerned we don't use that on ongoing expenses. So this is going to be very complex as we look forward. So my next question is, what predictions and how do you see the U.S. economy looking 1 year from today, and then maybe 5 years from today?
Well, is that to me?
Anyway, all of you. I think we're going to go around, okay?
All right. Let me just tell you in the political outlook, at least this is not all from me, but from friends of mine I've gone through very carefully from what I see in the political world in Washington, D.C., which will have enormous effects on all of you, is number one, H.R. 1, which is the Democrats' prime piece of legislation, appears to have no chance of proceeding and has literally no chance of passing. Number two, its little cousin, H.R. 4, which is sometimes called the Lewis Bill, has a very, very small chance of proceeding as well, and I would put it virtually as zero. I think the whole effect of Washington trying to control state and local election law, I think is going to fail in this case. Although I have to tell you, this is the single most important agenda for Pelosi and Schumer anywhere on the agenda. Number two, I would say by looking at the polls recently and by looking at what's going on, in February, January, February, March of this year, there was a chance that the Republicans could retake the House. Today, everyone believes the Republicans will retake the House, and the question is only by how many seats. The new numbers range between 20 and 50 seats in taking the House. A 50 seat would be a 1994 type of swing.
Wow.
Of huge proportions. The Senate was conceded to the Democrats in January, February of this year, completely conceded because of the huge untilted balance of Republican senators running for re-election. Much more Republicans are running for re-election than Democrats. However, now the numbers are put on 50-50 that the Republicans will retake the Senate in the U.S. So those are the numbers that I'm looking at. All I see on the tax bill is it looks very unlikely that we will get an increase in the inheritance tax. If anything, and it's very doubtful that this will pass either, is the corporate tax has now been dropped. The Democrats now want it to go from 21 to 25. Even that's really in doubt. The personal income tax, they want to go from 37 to 39.6. That is even in doubt at present. The step-up basis, which is a killer for family farms, the step-up basis on the inheritance tax looks like it's dead in the water. But the one that pleases me the most is the huge increase in funding for the IRS appears dead on arrival.
Well, I don't know how you follow that, but let me give you a brief federal answer and a brief state policy answer on this. And one is determinative of what happens on these big debates ahead on the tax rates. Because if we shoot ourselves in the foot and commit economic malpractice again as a country, like we did the Obama years, and we raise our business taxes, we will have a huge problem on our hands. If let's say we raise our rate to 28 plus the average state rate and local rate on top of that, our business tax rate on employers will be higher than that in communist China. It is economic malpractice to do that, right? It's a bad policy idea. And when you talk about, let's say, something like the 1031 exchanges or capital gains tax increases, we have on our private sector advisory council, the Asian American Hotel Owners Association. You talk to people like that, the entrepreneurs around the country, and that is absolutely a death knell to commercial real estate who has been on the ropes over the last 15 months and to so many small businesses across the country. So if you can avoid making those kind of economic broad policy mistakes in terms of those ideas, because that will be somewhat determinative, I think, of the answer. The other piece of this at the state level, and this is very, very brief, if states can continue to lead the way and we allow states to have the autonomy to lead the way when it comes to creating their own tax policy, becoming right-to-work states, doing the right things that they need to do to be competitive, we will succeed and we will have strong economic recovery over the next 1 to 5 years. The one thing in a real short phrase to sum it up is, if we have more states that become more like Utah and Tennessee and Texas and Florida and North Carolina, and fewer that become like New York and California and Illinois, the outlook is very rosy, President Adams.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. And Donna.
Well, and just to feed off of that, you know, we call states incubators of innovation. And so while some states clearly aren't succeeding, regardless of what the federal government does, and to the extent that you just say no to them, some of the states are going to continue to thrive. And if you look at Arthur's charts with the AGI flows, you can see where money's going to and where it's coming from any state. And those states where AGI is flowing into, not surprisingly, are our 5 and 4-star states and ranked highest and will continue to be. But you know, those states are going to be economic winners despite what's happening in Washington.
And go ahead, Doctor.
No, I'm just going to give one last piece of news. The bellwether, the candle in the miner's cap that you want to follow very carefully is 2 things are happening in the next couple of months. One is the election. The least important, well, not least, the lesser of importance is in the state of Virginia. There is a governor's race between Terry McAuliffe and a man named called Glenn Youngkin. This race right now looks too close to call. But this has been a red state that has turned blue, and this state looks like it's going to be a close call. If Youngkin wins, that is a huge sign of a change in the politics in America. But that's the lesser one. The one that is way cool is that my old state, California, has a provision in the Constitution for recalling governors. That provision in the Constitution has been exercised twice in recent years, once with a governor called Gray Davis, who was recalled, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected on the same ballot on that. The second one is Gavin Newsom has been recalled, but now whether it will be successful or not will be done around September 15th will be the election. I spent a lot of time trying to talk to Tom Selleck and getting him to run, but I just wasn't successful. I guess I was drooling and asking for his autograph way too much of the time and asking if he really knew Bridget Moynihan. But he said yes. But he decided not to run for governor. But we have Larry Elder, who is running for governor. My guess is there's a very good chance that Gavin Newsom will be recalled. And there's a very good chance that a pro-growth conservative will replace Gavin Newsom as governor of the state of California. And that is huge, huge news.
Wow.
Let me just close by saying, as Dr. Lafford taught me, taught all of us, it's all about the ALEC principles that are timeless, they're nonpartisan, it's individual liberty, free markets, federalism, and it's something that it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, or Vegetarian. These are good, sound economic policies that will lead us the way to get economic recovery across the entire United States.
Thank you. What I'm hearing from the panel today is states are the answers. And I just want to tell you that the principles I'm hearing work. We looked in Utah. Utah is one of 2 states, Idaho the other one, that had job growth last year. If you look at the census, we're the fastest growing state in America. The principle you're talking about work. Our unemployment rate's low. Again, if you want a strong economy, simply follow the principles we're talking about here at ALEC. And I hope everyone takes the opportunity to understand the value of states, but also to share your ideas as we come to task forces and have the opportunity to have the interaction that I think our founding fathers wanted to see, to have states, to have legislators from all over America come together to be able to talk about these policies, to be able to gain good information, to share it with one another, and find out what works and what doesn't, to be able to help our states. So again, I want to thank the task force, at least the the panel here today. Appreciate you being with us. Appreciate your great advice. And come back to Utah. We want to have you here more often. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.